We got some quick roster updates to update you with for the Arizona Coyotes. Plus, we get back on track with our mid-season reviews. About a little over a third of the way through the season. So be sure to stay tuned on this episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn Leon, Carl Pavlik, right beside me on this Tuesday. It is December 14th. We're getting much closer to the to Christmas time. Only 11 days away. I can't believe we're freaking there. But it's amazing. That plus the end of the year, all stuff like that. I'm not sure how excited you are for the holidays, Carl.
I'm mildly excited. I will be seeing my family this weekend just because the actual holiday tends to be a busy time for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna be trying to give myself the week off next week of almost any work that I have. That way, I can easily travel to California and be with my family for the week back in the Bay Area. It's kind of weird. I can't say home anymore because I'm not going to San Jose anymore. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it's always kind of weird when your family moves from your childhood home. It makes it so you can't really go home again. Definitely an interesting phenomenon.
well, I think they say home is where your family is. So,
I thought it's home was where the heart is.
and there's different ways of putting it.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, if you can, as long as you have your family together, that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all that matters. Um, but again, I'm pretty excited for that. But anyways, let's get on to today's show. Talk about the topics. We have some injury updates that you said you wanted to update us with. Help us, figure out what's going on with some of the Coyotes. Because there are some players who are out for this week. Maybe some players who might be out for a little bit longer.
Yeah. So speaking of players that are going to be staying home, Craig Morgan tweeted out yesterday that Chikrin and Dzingel will not play this week, and Jay Beagle will be getting a second opinion on his injury. Chikrin and Dzingel both missed the Coyotes' last game against the Flyers. They were out with injuries. Beagle looked like he took a puck to the ankle, looked very painful. Apparently needed crutches to help get him down the walkway, so potentially he may be missing a long term. Although if he's getting a second opinion, who knows what they find in that second opinion. Either way, Coyotes are going to be out some players for at least the week. Luckily, the team only has 2 games coming up this week.
Yeah, it's a very short week for the Arizona Coyotes. Not much going on. It's kind of a funny thing that I want to mention too is obviously no like true update or anything. I mean, obviously, I guess somewhat of an update. Something that you saw right after we finished recording, Carter Hutton was spotted on the ice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Looks like there's no timetable for his return yet, but Carter Hutton was on the ice for practice yesterday, which is good to hear. We talked about how there's going to be an impending team decision on what to do about him now that the Coyotes have Wedgwood and Vimelka. So it looks like that's going to have to be decided fairly soon.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be definitely a decision that had to be made. It'll be interesting because, like we said in yesterday's show, that they Melka and Wedgwood are they're creating themselves a pretty decent tandem. So like, why veer off from what works?
Yeah. I agree. I think it's up to the Coyotes to do what they think is going to give them the best chance of winning games. I know the team is actively trying to get a first overall pick, but still doesn't matter. Like especially for goaltending, don't mess with that too much. You don't want to affect people's confidence, especially for the younger players. Um, but I really don't know what would give the team the best chance. If Hutton looks good in practice and warm-ups, maybe give him a shot. Maybe send Vimelka down. Um, it looks like we may be putting someone on IR soon, so maybe the team ends up carrying three goalies for a while. Who knows? I thought that was an interesting aspect of the taxi squad kind of way that the last game ran. Teams were
Hmm.
carrying three goalies. I think it could potentially be a thing that we look for in the future of the NHL.
Having a third goalie would be interesting, especially because remember it's rare, but you've had those, quote, emergency backup goalies.
Yeah.
E-bugs are fun, but
Yeah. It is kind of one of those things where the first time a Zamboni driver needed to suit up for goal, like I felt like the NHL would be like, this system's not sustainable. We should not do that. But it's only one game, so I guess it's not too big of a thing. I really don't see the harm in adding like another roster spot for a third goalie. I think it would make things a little bit easier for teams. I think it's kind of a way of the future once we get over the fact that like goalies are playing less, which is always something we hear like Vesna time. People are like, "Oh, goalies aren't playing like 50 games anymore. How can you determine who's the best starting goalie?" And I just don't believe that.
and that's why the deal with the Vezina Trophy, how like it is much harder to determine in more modern plus future NHL who that best goalie, who the Vezina is. Well, now, a a trophy I like, an award I look at is the Jennings Trophy. That
Yeah.
that was put between. It's pretty much, oh, who's the best two goaltenders on the one team.
I like the Jennings Trophy. I honestly don't think that the Vesna, even now, is harder to determine than the Selkie. Like the best defensive forward to me is always just one of those like, how, what are you using to qualify that decision? That seems like historically it's all been eye test, and I guess now you can use some stats for it, but
Well, let's be
uh,
and it's and let's be frank about that Selkie too, where it's very based on mainly not just like, yeah, it says defensive forward, but let's be real. Who are the defensive forwards? The centers.
yeah. Who's the best center playing for a decently market team that makes it to the playoffs? That's what the Selkie really is. No offense to like anyone who's run it, it's still a an honor to get, but it's just like one of those ones where I'm like, that's ambiguous. Like I don't see why people are complaining about the Vesnas so much, and and maybe they're not. Maybe I'm just like lightning rodding in on the criticism, but I like three goalies.
Well, three goalies would be really would be quite fun to watch, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
I mean, especially I still don't know though to what extent the Coyotes would use Carter Hutton. Like,
I don't either, but I will say that we have seen that Tournier. I haven't seen. I don't believe we've seen him play both goal or one goalie for a back to back yet. So he does seem to be pretty good at letting his players rest. I think he can make something happen with an extra goalie.
which is what we wanted last year when they had three like stellar goalies.
Yeah, yeah. I would have liked to have seen it last year, but it didn't happen. Maybe this year though.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem as fun anymore though, because like, come on, like, yeah, Vimoka, Wedgwood, Hutton, like it's like, oh, not terrible goalies, but yeah, they can all get the job done. Versus last year when it was Kemper, Ranta, Hill.
Yeah, I've as soon as last season ended, I just gave up on it, and I was just like, nope, no, never gonna happen again. I don't even want to talk about it really. But yeah, I think the Coyotes were in a great situation last year. They didn't properly utilize it. I'd like to see them at least try something like that this year.
Let's see. Let's see if it works. Let's see what they decide. Again, they gotta make a decision. relatively soon. We'll see what the decision is.
Yeah. I'm sure, like, I have no idea what they're going to do. Like, I'm going to be honest. There's a couple of ways I could see them playing it, and it'll definitely be interesting to see. I don't think it'll be a firm decision right away. I think that they may kind of like pass the buck a little bit more, but it'll be kind of interesting to see what the Coyotes do.
It will be indeed. We still got more to get to on this show of Locked On Coyotes. We will finish what we started last week when we began our mid-season review for a third of the way through the season on grading the Arizona Coyotes parts of the team. So we'll continue that with coaching as well as special teams talk. All that coming up on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. But first, a quick word from our sponsors.
So I've been talking with my brother and sister about what to get our father for Christmas this year. And we were talking about getting him some meat because he likes meat and grilling and all that kind of fun stuff. And with the holidays coming up right around the corner, finding the perfect gift is always tricky, which is why Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send family and friends an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter NHL into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. For $99.99, you get 24 entrees like the world famous bacon wrapped filet mignon, chicken breasts, sides, desserts, and so much more. Use the code NHL and you can get an additional 8 Omaha steak burgers free with your order. We've all heard the reports about shortages and shipping delays, so don't wait. Order the perfect gift package today at omahasteaks.com and you'll receive 8 free burgers when you're entering the promo code NHL. Achieve gifting greatness with Omaha Steaks, incredible flavor, incredible value, and 100% guaranteed. That's omahasteaks.com, keyword NHL.
And guys, you listen to the podcast for the power of the inside track. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money. Because with Boost, you get the power of a free 5G phone so you can listen to the latest episodes and keep up with your favorite players and teams. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line so your family can share all the insights. All the power of one of America's largest 5G networks so you can do it all at the speed of 5G. With all that money you'll be able to save and all the edge you'll gain. Just how powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Free phone limited to new customers. One phone per line, or one per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers and coverage not available everywhere for all phones and networks. Boost Mobile. So see boostmobile.com for details. Okay, so now let's get back on track, Carl. So last week we were doing third way season reviews. At the time it was 25 games. Now a couple games more have been played. I think only 2 more games, right? So
Yep.
27 now. And we graded the Coyotes. We were going to do a 2-part series. We just did the basics: offense, defense, goalies. Last week, and they're like, oh, and tomorrow we're going to go ahead and do, more stuff. We're going to do special teams, coaching, management, all stuff like that. And then we had the news about uh,
Arena, yeah.
the
Or
arena,
the
the lockout, the
yeah,
potential lockout, or the tax problem,
yeah.
and we had to address that. Now we're getting back on track. So let's finish what we started talking about the grading this because I'm pretty sure like some of you guys were getting ready to tune in to hear that, and then this happened. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's talk about special teams first.
Mm.
Um, so how again, as a reminder to everyone, how we're doing this is we're grading them and then giving them a letter grade, and then going to just describe it. And I was joking about because we're in Arizona, we should give them the letter grades that are applicable here in Arizona, but I don't think that. But the letter grade that I'm about to give for special teams, Carl, that would apply here in Arizona. It doesn't sound as bad as the letter grade or everywhere else in the U.S. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Special teams gets an F.
Yeah, special teams gets enough. I don't think there's any other way to say it. The Coyotes don't have a lot of good personnel, but we have seen before that that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have bad special teams. Like when you have a man advantage or you're able to ice the puck, like if you do things right, you can make things happen. Coyotes can't make things happen though. So
Yeah, and you have other issues too with this team is as you were mentioning before is this team takes way too many penalties and their penalty kill is atrocious.
yeah.
I mean they've had games where their penalty kill did their job, but that's the problem is when we tout them for doing their job rather than doing a good job. It's like, oh, they did their job today.
Mm,
But
yeah.
versus most of the days we're just like, man, you're always gonna allow power play goals. Just like power play, the other team gets a power play. There's probably going to be a goal involved.
Well, I think the worst part about the Coyotes special teams, specifically the penalty kill, is they take so many they take so many penalties
Hmm.
that they just kind of push the envelope. Like if they took one fewer penalty, like they would have a much better like penalty kill average because it always seems like the last one they take is the one where their opponents finally score. Like that has happened so many times.
Hmm.
I think that's what happened with the Philadelphia Flyers game. I think they scored on the last power play. I may be wrong. I can't look that up right now, but we have definitely seen that this season, where like just that last power play opportunity that the team has, that's where they score. So that's a special teams problem, like the fact that they're getting beat, but it's also a discipline problem. I think special teams more than anything else relates to what we're going to be talking about next, coaching.
Yeah, that will be what we talk about next. But let's keep on special teams and obviously, and while I try to bring up some of the NHL
Oh, I have
team
the
stats
stats.
here. Oh,
So
you have it.
they have the 29th ranked penalty kill and the dead last in power play.
Dead last in power play.
Dead
Oh
last.
wow.
They have converted 12.1% of the time. Above them, the New Jersey Devils, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, which again kind of shows that like the talent base doesn't necessarily have too much to do with how you play on special teams. Also above the Penguins, the Vegas Golden Knights. They have the 28th ranked power
Which
play.
the Vegas Golden Knights started off worse. Like this Vegas Golden Knights started off at like what it was like a 2%.
It
Like it
took,
was
I think, a lot of games for them to get their first power play. I don't remember how many, but I remember writing previews and I was gonna say like the Coyotes have the worst power play, but no, the Vegas Golden Knights still hadn't scored a goal. So yeah, there's that disconnect, and it's frustrating to watch, uh, especially like that the Coyotes power play isn't going to save them, and it really could.
yeah, it could. It's just
I mean, they're playing a lot of tight games, so like an extra power play goal or one fewer power play
penalty.
goal, yeah, like that could make a world of difference for them.
It could. But again, like as you mentioned, they take too many penalties. They just don't have the offensive the offensive push on the with the man advantage. And let's be frank too, like this Coyotes team, what maybe once or twice, not very often, will get a two-man advantage and still do nothing.
Yeah, I remember they had, if not a full 2 minute 2 man advantage, like almost like maybe like a couple of seconds between the calls. Like you got to make something happen there. Like I know scoring power play goals isn't easy. There's a reason why even the best power play in the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers, converts less than a third of the time. Like when your opponent can ice the puck, it's a lot easier than normal. But still, you
But on
have
the
to.
two, but a two-man advantage that goes up.
Yeah, and you got to make up your opponents pay. You just got it. You got to dig deep. You have to have like a good strategy, and you got to make something happen. And I think that it kind of carries over into what we're going to be talking about soon, the coaching, because looking at the front office, we still have Phil Housley running the power play. He ran it under Tockett, who also didn't have that great, despite having better personnel. So maybe the system needs to change.
Absolutely. Let's actually get to coaching in just a sec. We talked, just a bit over about special teams, and we know that we are giving it an F just as a disclaimer for those who are listening outside of Arizona. And I mentioned the grading set from Arizona. I was gonna give them an E, which is what we do in Arizona, which is weird. Um, but if you pay attention, it doesn't sound as bad.
Yeah. Uh, I've never gotten an E, so I don't have personal experience with that.
In the journalism world, so I'm gonna go trigger maybe those who were part of the journalism. Maybe Cronkite did this, but I know U of A did this. Is if you if you said somebody was director of scouting when they're really vice president of hockey operations, um, you'll get an auto E because you mislabeled that person.
mm,
If you misspell their name, you can get an auto E for like
See, I went to business school and psychology school. They're way more lax.
journalism accuracy. Let's go. Anyways, just wanted to give you guys the little disclaimer on there why I mentioned that at the beginning. So I was gonna say E, but it doesn't sound as bad, so that's why I gave him an F. So that's that. But we got to get to the last bit, coaching, in just a bit. But first, I want to tell you guys this episode brought to you by Stance. I've been hearing a lot about Stance apparel lately, especially because they've launched a new line of active apparel. Plus, it's holiday gifting time, and Stance is the coolest gift that you can give. These are supposed to be very incredibly comfortable and well made. They trying to look. Yeah, their socks and joggers and hoodies are they're absolutely amazing. They're different than all the other old stuff you wear because oh man, sorry, I got a little bit of a dry throat. But you don't always have to settle for that. You don't always have to settle for back in the day. Stance changed the mindset by offering color and comfort and creativity like no other. Founded in 2009, Stance Apparel represents a radical reinvention of socks, underwear, and active apparel with a sharp focus on comfort, quality, and creativity. Stance brings an atypical aesthetic along with some of the pop culture's hottest collaborators for the ultimate in style and self expression because everything you wear should be a direct extension of who you are and how you feel. They've got a lot of different collaborations, including like Wu Tang Clan, Batman, The Goonies, Star Wars, The Office, Harry Potter, Disney, Marvel, Bob Marley, Major League Baseball, NBA, Pixar, and just the list goes on and on and on. But don't just take my word for it. Go ahead and check it out yourself because Stance believes that the perfect fit matters more than fitting in. For those that feel good, do good. Go see for yourself. Register for an account at stance.com. Get 15% off your first purchase. Use the promo code LOCKDOWN at checkout to apply. Enjoy the color and comfort of a life less ordinary with Stance. Okay, so now let's finish things off, Carl. Our last grade we're gonna give coaching. I'll let you
Jeff,
start.
coaching is a tough one because it is wrapped up so much with a lot of other factors. And there are quite a few player or people who are involved in coaching. It's not just Tournier. He has some assistant coaches. The one he brought in was Mario Duramel. Apologies if I mispronounced that. And we had the return of assistant coaches Bill Housley, Corey Stillman, goaltender coach Corey Schwab. So that's a lot. I'm going to say C plus as my overall ranking for coaching. I think that there's some bright spots. I think goaltending coach Schwab has been doing really good. We're seeing like kind of the revitalization of Scott Wedgwood. We're seeing some stellar play from Carol Vejmelka. Uh, I think Phil Housley and Corey Stillman maybe less good. Charnier still a little bit too early to call. The one big thing I have is the team takes too many penalties. That's a discipline issue. I'm not sure how much of that is his fault, how much he's like not being able to instill that, and how much is just like the team is getting beat, and so they're taking stupid penalties to make up for that.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I was going to say somewhere around a C. Um, this team obviously, and the way I say it, C, because like yeah, okay, that coaching is definitely around average. This Coyotes team at the start, remember we talked about how abysmal they were to start the season,
Yeah,
and they slowly got better over time because they were fitting into the system that Andre Tourné wanted. And we're slowly seeing that. Obviously, there's still a lot of gaps there, um, but that's also the testament of still. I mean, we're only 27 games in this season. That's
yep,
A. B. Um, let's be frank. It's this still a newer team, right? You have a lot of
sure,
players who haven't played each other for a while, so they got to get used to each other. Chemistry still needs to be 100% there. And you were saying, oh, a third of the way the season, they should already be there. Let's be real. Some of these players know where they're not going to be with each other next year, anyways.
yeah,
So there's a lot of like, there's only so much coaching can do to completely revitalize this team to make it look like a competitive team. But let's also look at it this way, and there's a reason why I give them like I say C or on average better than what I was anticipating to start off, and that is the talent level of this team is pretty poor. Right? You do not have a lot of good players in this team. No superstars, none of that. Despite that, this team on numerous occasions, obviously there's several um, exceptions to what I'm about to say, but there are numerous occasions where this team competed with some of the top dogs in the league.
yeah,
Like you're able to have like a 1 goal game with the best team in the National Hockey League, or have like only lose by 2 or whatever. Like it's a close game, and you like on the ice. Does it look like they're playing that well? No, but but Torne reads what the team needs to do to adjust and keep it close, and I think it's there.
yeah. I definitely think there are some bright spots. Like you said, the team is able to play against some of the top competition. That's good to see. I think that the player who needs to be the most engaged this year is Clayton Keller, and I think that he is getting that. I think Turnier is getting a lot out of Keller, which is kind of phenomenal. I'd like to see him maybe get a little bit more out of Barrett Hayton, just because I think that that's a player who the Coyotes need to be playing well, and he's been fine, but just not able to generate kind of the offense that the team needs. Um, the again the issues that I have with the team and how they play, kind of like the major sore spots, neutral zone play and special teams. Like I cannot be certain how well or how much of that is just the low skill, like you said. I think Turnier is doing well to kind of get the most out of what he can, and unfortunately, that answer is just not much. I would like to see a change of the special teams assistant coaches during this upcoming offseason, though. I understand kind of wanting to keep them around, keep some kind of sense of continuity, but I think most people anticipate that a coach is going to bring in their own coaches after a
Yeah,
year.
I think wasn't there a like chatter in the off season regarding Housley, whether or not he was going to be kept around. And I think probably might have been stuck around because maybe one of the players, one of the core players, wanted to keep him around. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I'm not, I don't particularly remember hearing that. It wouldn't surprise me though. I'm kind of curious to because Housley mostly runs the defenseman and the power play. Only defenseman who stuck around was Chikrin. So unless Chikrin was like lobbying hard for Phil Housley, which we don't know.
Which could be the case, because if he's defenseman in power play, look at what Chikrin did last year.
Yeah. And also look at the fact that Chikrin is lost his long-term defensive partner in Alex Golgaski. So could be. But if that is the case, if it was Chikrin lobbying for him, if a player was indeed lobbying for him, we don't know.
Yeah, we
Then
don't know at all.
I don't think that would be enough next year, especially with Chikrin's play this year. Just it's not kind of the thing that warrants having a coach come back. Maybe get like fresh set of eyes on that.
Well, yeah, especially because we look at, again, not only special teams this year, but special teams last year.
Yeah. I agree.
Which is interesting because how long ago was it now? 2-3 years ago, when the Arizona Coyotes had the most I would say not best, but most exciting penalty kill.
Yeah, and then we let that coach go. Who was it? It was a couple years back. No, but yeah, we had one of the best penalty kills, and we let the coach go, and it just did not work out well. I did not like that one.
The excitement of watching Michael Grabner get shorthanded goals every game.
Yeah, which also just kind of goes to show: is it personnel or is it the coaching?
True, because Grabner was a penalty kill specialist. That's the way they had him. But
Yep.
But again, it's hard to gauge. Again, we're only a third of the way through the season. It's hard to gauge, but at the same time, you have still somewhat of a level of expectation for what little you know, right? And expectations have been met in some places and not met in others.
Agreed. And real quick before we go, it looks like Scott Allen was that coach that we were talking about who ran the penalty kill when it was exceptionally good.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, Scott Allen. All right. Yeah, I don't know why they let him go.
Maybe bring him back.
Find out where he is. Find out where he is. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, though, so we are just about out of time here on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. Hope you guys like what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you get to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast. 100% free everywhere. Also, don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are at Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. It is Robyn with a Y_LEANO. Carl Pavlik is at Carl Pavlik FFH. Interact with us, ask the questions you might have. We might answer them right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.